But allow me just to take a couple of moments to get us back on track here, which is we're entrenched in Sefer Bereshit. We're on page 146 in your Chumashim, Parsha Toldot, that begins with the Eila Toldot Yitzhak ben Abraham Holida Yitzhak. So we're talking about Isaac and Isaac's generations. We're going to be introduced very quickly to his twin sons, Yaakov and Esav, and how they grow up together. You'll recall that they themselves are at odds with one another. But even just taking the first pasuk of this Torah portion for a moment, the Eila Toldot Yitzhak ben Abraham Holida Yitzhak, it says, and these are the generations of Isaac, the son of Abraham. And then it says, Abraham was the father of Isaac, which, if you will, is obviously representing duplicity in the text. I've just said in the first phrase that he's Yitzchak ben Abraham, so why are you now telling me that Abraham is ben Yitzchak, right? Abraham is the father of Yitzchak. So that's the shiloh that we have, the duplicity. So if you will recall, and this is sort of I'll just give you a little glimpse into sometimes how we read the Torah text, is because of this duplicity, I have to answer the question, why did you go back and say that Abraham was the father if you just said that Isaac is the son of? And so you recall that earlier that Abraham and Sarah, they've been very, very successful at life in general, but the one thing they haven't been successful at is raising a family of their own, right? And you recall there's a story about how they go down to Egypt, and the Pharaoh wants to be with Sarah, and Abraham says that Achoti at, that she should be presented as being the sister instead of the wife. And so people, according to the Midrash, people say, well, obviously, if Abraham and Sarah were together for so long and couldn't have a baby, but now all of a sudden, after Sarah was taken captive by the Pharaoh, obviously, if she's now pregnant, clearly it means that the Pharaoh had relations with Sarah. So the Midrash tells us the reason they say Abraham Holida Yitzhak is because when the baby is born, according to the Midrash, Yitzhak looks exactly like Abraham. Exactly. So nobody could make such an assumption of Sarah Imenu that she was with somebody else other than Abraham. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. And it tells us of the power of genetics, I guess, if nothing else. I remember this week I had parent-teacher conferences, and some young student came in with his father. The father introduced himself. Hi, I'm Daniel's father. I was looking at him, I was saying, no kidding. So it's a fanciful midrash, but I will tell you that if we take this Torah portion, we think about it in the lens of what are called midot, or values, right? So if you are a fan of the midah, of the value of truth, this isn't your portion. I'd ask you to skip ahead a few pages, etc. There's a lot of deception that's going on here. Even, we're going to read the story about the tricking Isaac with regards to the birthright, etc. And Jacob, even at the urging of his mother, puts on the skins on his arm and says to his blind father, he says, I am Esav, your firstborn. Now listen, this is somewhat problematic if we're trying to hang our hat on the concept of truth. But thank God we have the Midrashim, the rabbis, who say the sentence is punctuated incorrectly. Chas v'shalom, God forbid that you should think that Yaakov lied to his blind father. But if you punctuate those three words differently, what Yaakov is really saying to his father is, Hineni, I am here. Stop. Esav is your firstborn. Right? So he didn't actually lie about anything. He just presented it in a different way. So it's an interesting parsha. We keep in mind the idea that when there's a beautiful artistic midrash that I want to share with you. The concept of emet, if you think about the Hebrew letters of emet, you have an aleph that looks like this. It has a nice firm base. The mem has a bottom that's really solid. And the top stands on two legs. They say that emet, truth, stands. Truth continues to exist. Whereas the Hebrew word sheker for lie, again, think of the letters. Ashin has three stems that all come down to one point. And the same is true with the kuf and the resh. We say those letters aren't so stable, right? If you just knock them over gently, a lie will not continue to stand. It's actually a beautiful midrash. It's a nice way to think about it. That emet is foundational to what we do. And we know right now, folks, we'll hear about it later, that what we are doing above anything and everything else in a certain respect here in the United States is fighting for the truth.